Hi everyone, welcome back to Lifting the Lamp. I'm Frate Eleftheria, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about another fundamental topic within Kabbalah, which is related to how we can take a word and derive hidden meanings of the word and the letters using various different methods, most notable of which is Gematria, but there are others. So another fundamental video building on my Kabbalah playlist where I talk about everything you need to know, the bare basics to understand Kabbalah. So by way of introduction to this topic, let me just cast your mind back about 20 years or so. There used to be a very popular series of books called the Bible Code, which surmised that within the Torah, within all of the Hebrew letters of the Torah, if you arrange them a certain way, you could find hidden meanings by tracing lines through the text of the Torah and hidden words which revealed a kind of more profound meaning to the text, which is what they labeled as the Bible Code. But this kind of an idea that you can find hidden meanings within particularly sacred scriptures like the Torah, by looking at patterns formed by the letters or looking at hidden meanings of the letters is not a new idea. In fact, the earliest iteration of this is Gematria and related kind of Kabbalistic arts, which have been known and used by the Western esoteric tradition for many centuries. And by using these methods, we can uncover in a very real sense the secret Bible code, because quite often it is in the context of biblical texts that Gematria is utilized, you know, the Hebrew or Greek original biblical texts. But it can be used to find the meaning of a great many different words that are translated or transliterated into Hebrew. And, you know, the most common kind of example of these arts is Gematria. That's the most commonly understood example of these arts. So allow me to talk about Gematria first and devote quite a bit of time to that, and then go into some detail about the lesser known Kabbalistic methods for finding hidden meanings in words. So Gematria is often attributed to the Rabbi Akiva, who lived in the 1st century, 2nd century of the Common Era. And Rabbi Akiva was said to have had a vision whereby he saw that every single Hebrew letter of the Hebrew alphabet had a distinct meaning, its own kind of significant meaning. Even the shapes of the curves of the different letters had a significance to the meaning. And so by not just looking at individual words or sentences within, say, the Torah, but by looking at each individual letter within a word, or looking at the formation of each letter within a word, you could find another layer of meaning, more depth, you know, and uncover an esoteric meaning to different things that had been written in addition to the exoteric meaning. And so there's a few different ways that this is understood. Of course, there is the 22 paths, which are of the Tree of Life in later Kabbalah, whereby each one of those paths is attributed to one of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And in this kind of scenario, we said every Hebrew letter represents an archetypal energy in its own right, sometimes also related to the trumps of the tarot. But there's another kind of way of interpreting this meaning, and that is that each Hebrew letter, arranging it in a table and seeing where it falls and giving it a number based on that arrangement. And by deriving this numeric value for each of the Hebrew letters, this is where the art of Gematria really begins. It's where we convert all of these Hebrew letters into a number and then find a word in Hebrew and then add up the number value of each of those letters to reach a greater number. And then different numbers can have different meanings based on sacred geometry or principles of mathematics, or simply numerology. But they can also have significance if you look at what another word might be that adds up to the same number in Gematria. And this is a method which is kind of similar to divination, I suppose, where you find hidden connections between different concepts and hidden ways that concepts might be analogous to one another, or reveal some greater truth that they're all pointing towards. So, for example, in the Bible, in the Pentateuch, there is a prophecy about the coming of the Messiah, which uses the words Shiloh shall come. And the numeric value of that term, Shiloh shall come, is 358. And as it happens, the Hebrew word for Messiah, Mashiach, also adds up to 358. And so this is what's known as Gematria, and this is how we can attribute hidden meanings or uncover hidden meanings to different words or relationships between words using number. And Gematria is often understood as referring specifically to finding meanings in Hebrew words and a specific method of giving numbers to the Hebrew alphabet. There is another technique known as Isopsephy, which is like Gematria but for the Greek alphabet. And the Greek alphabet is different in structure slightly to the Hebrew alphabet, and so there's different number attributions that happen within that alphabet. But it's very interesting to compare and contrast the two. In addition to that, people have hypothesized other types of Gematria. For example, an English Gematria, particularly Aleister Crowley, was very keen on discovering what that might be. A way that we can find the significance or the number value of English letters in much the same way as was done in Greek and Hebrew. He never actually presented a solution to that. I have got my own theories about that. But certainly Gematria and Isopsephy are the main two. And more often than not, if you're looking for magical words, holy words, they're likely, or holy phrases, they're likely to have come from the scriptures, which were either written in Hebrew or Greek. Hebrew in particular, because of Rabbi Akiva's visions, is seen as a particularly sacred language, where every single letter has meaning. And it's almost like a coding language of the universe. But according to the preeminent occultist, Dr. Westcott, Gematria is only the tip of the iceberg. There are in fact two other Kabbalistic arts which allow us to find hidden meanings behind words. Those are Notarikon and Temurah. So there are really two main methods of Notarikon. One is where you take a word, write it vertically, and then each of those letters becomes the first letter of a new word, so that you create a series of words or a sentence out of one smaller word. And that's supposed to show you a significant meaning behind that word and build out its meaning. So, not to profane Notarikon in any way, but you might think of the typical sort of motivational poster where it's got the word team, and T is for this and E is for that. And it's meant to give you a deeper understanding of what a team is. Again, I apologize profusely for profaning the sacred art in that way, but that's the easiest way to kind of understand it. But you're doing it with spiritual kind of ideas, of course, spiritual concepts. And then Notarikon also works in reverse, where you can take a sentence and find the first letter of every word in that sentence, and it can produce a word, or perhaps a series of words. And it's particularly easy to do this with Hebrew, because there's no vowels in Hebrew for the most part. So, it doesn't, it's much easier to get a sequence of letters that can be made to make some kind of phonetic or grammatical sense. So that's Notarikon. And then as for Temurah, this refers to basically anagrams. It's the idea that if you can rearrange the letters of a word, then it can reveal something hidden about that word. So a classic example from popular culture would be in the second Harry Potter book, where Tom Marvolo Riddle switches the letters of his name around to spell out I am Lord Voldemort. So there's a hidden meaning that connects both of those two concepts, and it's uncovered by rearranging the letters of one word or one series of words to reveal another. But there is another method of Temurah, which is essentially like creating a cipher. So you might, for example, create 2 rows of letters, and then you've got one letter actually meaning a different letter, so that you can write a code of what you really mean to say by substituting the letters according to that kind of cipher. And then that can sometimes be used to show that one word in Hebrew can actually be converted to another, and that reveals further hidden meanings. And that is how we can use the Holy Kabbalah to find secret hidden codes in Hebrew words and even Greek words, and illuminate the hidden meaning behind spiritual concepts and spiritual words and names that we encounter in the holy texts. I'm going to leave it there, but in a subsequent video I'd really like to show you some of my own innovations in Gematria. I've stuck to what is common knowledge in the Western esoteric tradition about this topic. I'll do a subsequent video where I present my own findings on what I think an English Gematria might be, and in fact what an Enochian Gematria might be. But I'll keep that separate from this content, and I'm sure that you've been given enough to digest as it is. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please leave a like on the video down below, subscribe to my channel to support my work, and if you want to support me further, hit that join or thanks button down there. But thank you again for listening, and I'll see you next time.